Commander Kim Haeon stared at the glowing screen in the deep underground facility beneath Cheyenne Mountain. The translated message played again, each word hitting him like a physical blow. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the console tightly. Please, anyone who can hear this. We are the Zephyrians of Aqua Prime. The hegemony ships are coming. We only wanted to talk to the stars. We never meant to break their rules. If someone receives this message, please remember us. Remember that we tried to be free. The signal ended in static. Lieutenant Parkman walked into the dark room, carrying hot coffee and wearing a worried expression. She had been working these listening posts for 5 years, but the desperate messages still hurt her heart. Sir, that makes 47 species this year, Min said quietly. The commanders want to know if we should break our silence. Han turned away from the screen. Through the thick windows, he could see the massive hidden shipyards carved deep into the mountain. Hundreds of sleek warships hung in the darkness like sleeping metal beasts. They had been built in complete secrecy over many decades. Not yet, Hyun replied in a low voice. Director Lee says we need more information about their fleet movements. Gosh, every cry for help teaches us something new about our enemies. Min nodded. She understood the terrible math behind their waiting. For 3 generations, humanity had listened to the galaxy's suffering while secretly preparing for war. The hegemony was a group of 6 ancient alien races that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They crushed any civilization that tried to advance beyond limits they set. Earth had received their first hegemony warning in 2157, right after humans achieved faster-than-light communication. But humanity's response had been uniquely human. They went dark, pretended to be primitive cave dwellers, and began the longest secret military preparation in their history. The Zephyrians won't be the last to die, Haeon said, returning to his console. But when we finally move, we'll make sure they're among the first we save. High above Earth, hidden behind advanced cloaking technology, Admiral Song-jae commanded the flagship Indomitable. His bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring alien communications across 17 different sectors of space. Heard everything. The hegemony's casual cruelty, the desperate pleas of the oppressed, the slow death of entire civilizations. Admiral called Captain Lee Hyo from her station. We're receiving multiple distress calls from the Kepler sector. The hegemony is conducting what they call compliance sweeps. Jay's jaw muscles tightened with controlled anger. Record everything. Signal command that Phase 1 preparation should move faster. The galaxy is suffering, and we've been silent long enough. In the deepest part of the mountain facility, Dr. Choi Anna worked in her laboratory surrounded by captured hegemony technology. Every piece had been carefully stolen over decades by human spies who risked their lives in deep space. She studied their weapons, their shields, their communication systems, looking for weaknesses. Their energy weapons use a quantum frequency. We can block, she explained to her assistant engineer Han Dukyeon. Their shields have a cycle pattern we can predict. Most importantly, their sensors can't detect our stealth technology because they never imagined anyone would think to hide. Han nodded as he studied the alien weapon components. How long until we're ready, Doctor? Soon, Anna replied. Very soon. Humanity has been preparing for this war since before you were born. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic has been designed for one purpose: to break the hegemony's control over the galaxy. Back in the listening post, Commander Haeon received another transmission. This one was different. It came from the Draconis system, where a species called the Kethmori were being evaluated for compliance. The message was not a plea for help. It was a warning. To anyone listening, the alien voice said through the translators, the hegemony has identified a new target. They speak of a primitive world called Earth in the Outer Rim. They plan to make an example of this world to show what happens to species that hide from their authority. If there are humans listening, run. Run far and hide deeper. The storm is coming. Jan felt ice in his veins. But also something else, relief. After decades of waiting and preparing, the moment had finally arrived. He activated his secure communication system and sent a coded message to every human facility in the solar system. Silent Dawn, Phase 2 is now active, he transmitted. All units, prepare for revelation. The galaxy is about to learn that Earth was never hiding because we were weak. We were hiding because we were getting ready. Throughout the solar system, human military facilities came alive. On Mars, massive blast doors opened to reveal shipyards that could build 1,000 warships. In the asteroid belt, mining stations transformed into weapon platforms. Around Jupiter and Saturn, fuel depots and supply bases prepared to support the largest military fleet in human history. The hegemony had ruled through fear and superior technology for millennia. They had never faced an enemy that spent generations studying their weaknesses and preparing countermeasures. They had never encountered a species that could listen to suffering for decades and channel that pain into cold. Calculated revenge. Commander Hoon looked one more time at the Zephyrian distress call on his screen. Soon, very soon, humanity would answer every cry for help they had ever received. The Silent Watchers were about to become the galaxy's liberators. The age of hiding was ending. The age of justice was about to begin. Dr. Choi Bo-erm stood in front of the large holographic display in the secret bunker beneath Geneva. The three-dimensional map showed the entire galaxy, with angry red zones marking hegemony control and tiny blue dots representing the 47 civilizations that had been destroyed in just 1 year. The Zephyrian homeworld is now a mining operation, she reported to the room full of world leaders. Her voice stayed calm even though the facts were horrible. Their population went from 8 billion people to only 50,000 slaves. The hegemony classified their technology as pre-approved basic level. Secretary General Nam Ki-wan leaned forward in his chair. His old face showed deep worry lines. How many more, Dr. Choi? How many more civilizations will we watch die while we get ready? None, sir, said a strong voice from the doorway. Director Yoon Seok walked into the room with confident steps. He led the Terran Defense Coordination, a secret organization that had existed for over 100 years. Most people on Earth didn't even know it was real. Our deep space scouts report that the hegemony is planning a major attack wave, Yoon continued. 17 more species are marked for evaluation within 6 months, but our preparation time is finished. The hologram changed to show the hidden truth about human space. Mars had massive underground shipyards. The asteroid belt contained hundreds of defense platforms disguised as mining stations. The outer planets served as secret bases for the largest military fleet in human history. Project Silent Dawn is ready to activate, Yoon announced. 237 ships, each one invisible to hegemony sensors. Crews trained to fight without any radio communication. Weapons designed to exploit every weakness we found in their technology. Captain Han Yu stepped forward and saluted. She had been recently promoted to lead the advanced scout teams for the Liberation Fleet. Sir, all crews are ready. We've been training for this our entire careers. Every practice battle, every exercise prepared us for breaking the hegemony's control. Nam Ki-wan looked around the room at humanity's secret protectors. And it's time to show the galaxy that someone was listening, that someone prepared. Help is finally coming. Deep in space, the first human scout ship called Shadow's Edge moved silently toward the Aqua Prime system. Commander Park Soo-jin used advanced stealth technology to observe the hegemony occupation forces. What she saw filled her with cold anger. The once beautiful blue world was now brown and scarred. Its oceans had been drained to fuel the invaders' machines. Command, this is Shadow's Edge. Soo-jin transmitted using quantum channels that couldn't be detected. Target assessment complete. Hegemony has about 40 ships in the system. Mix of military ships and resource collectors. They're positioned like they don't expect any resistance. The reply came from Admiral Song Jae back on Earth. Copy, Shadow's Edge. You are cleared to begin Phase 1. Show them what happens when someone finally answers the call for help. Soo-jin smiled grimly as her ship's weapon systems powered up. For the Zephyrians, she whispered, and for everyone who screamed into the darkness. Meanwhile, on the hegemony capital world of Dominion Prime, the 6 ruling species met in their crystal towers. They had controlled the galaxy for so long that they couldn't imagine anyone challenging their power. Intelligence reports about destroyed facilities and missing ships were dismissed as minor problems. War Master Krelmer slammed his armored fist on the meeting table. These incidents in the Outer Rim are probably pirates or equipment failures. No primitive species has the technology to threaten us. Supreme Coordinator Vexhara's tentacles moved with irritation. Nevertheless, we should make an example. Send the 7th Annihilation Fleet to investigate this Earthworld our databases mention. 300 ships should be enough to remind the galaxy why we rule. Intelligence Director Sithak hissed his agreement. Yes, we'll destroy their entire system. Any species watching will remember that the hegemony's power cannot be challenged. Back on Earth, Admiral Song Jae received the intelligence report with grim satisfaction. He stood in humanity's greatest secret facility, Luna Station, which had been carved into the far side of the moon. This was the command center for Operation Silent Dawn, the most ambitious military project in human history. They took the bait, reported Intelligence Officer Han Mi-young, and the 7th Fleet is heading for Earth. They'll arrive in 48 hours. Jay nodded calmly. Signal all hidden installations. Defense Protocol Omega is now active. Send word to General Kim on Mars that it's time to show them what we've really been building. On Mars. General Kim Tae-ho stood before the massive blast doors of Shipyard Complex Alpha. These doors were each large enough for a city block to pass through. With a simple gesture, he started the sequence humanity had prepared for over a century. The giant doors slowly opened with deep grinding sounds. Inside, row after row of warships sat in perfect formation. These weren't the small scout ships that had been rescuing survivors. These were true battleships, vessels designed to break the hegemony's control through overwhelming firepower and superior tactics. Begin launch sequence, Kim commanded. All ships to battle stations. Earth's children are coming home to protect their world and show the universe what happens when you corner humanity. The storm was gathering. The hegemony believed they were about to crush another primitive species. Instead, they were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their ships. It was their patience, their planning, and their absolute refusal to let evil triumph while they had the power to stop it. The sleeping giant was about to wake up, and the galaxy would never be the same. The hegemony resource extraction platform Zeta-7 hung in space above the dead Zephyrian homeworld like a giant metal spider. Overseer the Kalan of the hegemony enforcement caste looked at his production reports with cold satisfaction. His species had been conquering worlds for thousands of years, and this was just another routine operation. The aquatic slaves are working within acceptable limits, his assistant reported through the translation system. Their lung changes are holding up better than we expected. We should get another 10 years of useful work before the population dies completely. The Kalan was about to respond when every alarm on his bridge started screaming. A ship had appeared less than 1 kilometer from their hull. It was sleek, dark, and completely unknown. There had been no energy signature, no warning, nothing. It was simply there, as if it had materialized from empty space. Impossible, Thekalan hissed through his breathing apparatus. No species has stealth technology that advanced. Contact them immediately. On the human vessel Retribution, Commander Park Soo-jin stood calmly on her bridge as the hegemony's communication request came through. Her crew of 35 moved with practiced precision. Each person was a volunteer who had lost family members to hegemony compliance actions in their previous lives as colonists on distant worlds. Translation system online, reported Lieutenant Kong-ho. They're demanding we identify ourselves and explain why we're here. Soo-jin smiled with cold satisfaction. Open a channel. It's broadcast on all frequencies throughout the system. Her image appeared on screens across the hegemony platform and every ship in the system. She spoke in clear, measured English, letting the universal translators carry her words to every ear, both oppressor and oppressed. I am Commander Park Soo-jin of the Terran Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to release all Zephyrian survivors and withdraw from this system. This is your only warning. Mandibles clicked in what his species used for laughter. Terran. There are no Terrans in our galactic database. Another primitive species has developed basic faster-than-light travel and thinks it can challenge the mighty hegemony. How amusing. His words ended suddenly as the Retribution's plasma cannons fired. The energy beams were invisible to hegemony sensors until they struck their target. They tore through the platform's supposedly unbreakable shields, like they were made of paper. Secondary explosions rippled across the massive structure, shields down to 12%. Someone screamed on the Clonas bridge, "This is impossible. Those weapons shouldn't exist according to our technology database." Sujin's voice came through the chaos, calm and unstoppable. "You have 15 seconds remaining." Deep in the platform's slave quarters, Zephyrian survivors looked up at the speaker systems in complete disbelief. Corel, one of the few remaining elders of his people, felt his gills flutter with an emotion he thought was dead forever. Hope. "Someone came," he whispered in his native language to the other prisoners. "Someone actually came to help us." Faced with technology that went against everything he understood about galactic power, made a decision that would echo across the stars. All ships in the system, attack the unknown vessel immediately. Use maximum firepower. Destroy them completely. 40 hegemony ships turned toward the lone human vessel. Their combined weapons could destroy entire continents. Sujin watched them approach on her tactical display with the calm patience of a hunter waiting for the perfect moment. Captain called Ensign Li Dan from his station. "They're charging all weapon systems." "Let them charge," Sujin replied quietly. "Tactical officer, prepare the revelation protocol. It's time to show them what a sleeping giant looks like when it finally wakes up." The space around Retribution began to shimmer like heat waves. Suddenly, 49 more human ships appeared from nowhere, surrounding the hegemony force in a perfect sphere of death. Each vessel had been waiting in complete stealth mode, invisible and patient. For this exact moment, Vekilon stared at his sensors in absolute terror. His voice broke as he tried to understand what was happening. Where did they come from? How many ships do these humans have? His question was answered by a coordinated attack that lasted exactly 90 seconds. Human weapons designed specifically to counter hegemony technology cut through their defenses like knives through cloth. Ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light in the slave quarters. The Zephyrian prisoners watched through small windows as their captor's fleet was systematically destroyed. Corel pressed his webbed hands against the transparent metal and wept tears of joy. "They're real," he said to his fellow survivors. "The rescuers are real." The Flaun's flagship was one of the last to die. As his ship's hull began to crack and atmosphere leaked into space, he managed to send one final transmission on all hegemony emergency frequencies. It was a single word that would change everything. Impossible. But it wasn't impossible. It was inevitable. For 3 generations, humanity had listened to every cry for help, cataloged every atrocity, and prepared for this moment. They had studied their enemies with scientific precision and built weapons designed to exploit every weakness. "Commander." Sujin opened communications to the surviving platform. "This is the Terran Defense Force. All hegemony personnel will evacuate immediately. The Zephyrian survivors are under our protection now." As the first human rescue shuttles launched toward the platform, Sujin allowed herself a small smile. This was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, other human fleets were moving into position. The age of hegemony dominance was about to end, and the age of liberation was about to begin. The galaxy had screamed for help. Finally, someone had answered with the force of awakened giant. The Hegemony High Command met in their crystal towers on the capital world of Dominion Prime. 6 ancient alien races that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years sat around a table that had never known defeat. Today, cracks appeared in there. Absolute confidence like ice breaking under pressure. Supreme Coordinator. Vexhara's tentacles moved with barely controlled rage as she read the battle reports. 63 ships lost at Aqua Prime, 63 destroyed by primitives who shouldn't have weapons capable of lighting a campfire. War Master Krelmer slammed his armored fist on the meeting table, causing the crystal surface to crack. Terrans must be eliminated immediately before word spreads to other species. The lesser races believe they can be rescued from our rule. Chaos will follow. Intelligence Director Sithok hissed his agreement through his breathing mask. Sending the 7th Annihilation Fleet to this Earth world. 300 ships, including 2 Worldbreaker-class vessels that can crack planets in half, will make an example that will echo for 1,000 years. 6 light-years away, Admiral Song Jae received the intelligence report from human deep space monitors with grim satisfaction. He stood on the command deck of humanity's greatest secret Luna Station, carved deep into the moon's hidden side and housing the command center for Operation Silent Dawn. Day took the bait perfectly, reported Intelligence Officer Han Myung. From her station, the 7th Fleet is heading directly for Earth. Estimated arrival time is 48 hours. Jay nodded with calm determination. Signal all hidden installations throughout the solar system. Defense Protocol Omega is now fully active. Send word to General Kim on Mars that it's time to reveal what we've really been building all these years. On Mars, General Kim Tae-ho stood before the massive blast doors of Shipyard Complex Alpha. Each door was large enough for an entire city block to pass through. With a simple command gesture, he activated the sequence humanity had prepared. For over a century, the giant doors slowly opened with deep mechanical groans that echoed through the underground chambers. Inside the hidden complex, row after row of warships sat in perfect military formation. These weren't the small scout vessels that had rescued the Zephyrians. These were true battleships. Massive vessels designed to break the hegemony's control through overwhelming firepower and superior human tactics. Begin immediate launch sequence, Kim commanded his officers, all ships to battle stations. Earth's children are coming home to protect their birth world and show the universe what happens when you corner humanity. The hegemony's 7th annihilation. Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. They expected to find a single primitive world populated by upstart savages who had gotten lucky once. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by the most heavily fortified star system in galactic history. Fleet Admiral Torkil stared at his sensor displays in complete disbelief. There are thousands of military installations, weapon platforms, defensive stations, hidden shipyards. How long have these humans been preparing for war? His answer came in the form of Admiral Jay's broadcast, transmitted across all frequencies throughout the system. I am Admiral Song Jae of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered the Sol system with hostile intent against the people of Earth. You will surrender immediately. You will be completely destroyed. You have exactly 1 minute to decide. Response was predictably arrogant. You face the combined might of the hegemony. 300 ships of the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. You cannot possibly. The space around his flagship erupted in devastating weapons fire as humanity's true strength revealed itself like a monster rising from deep water. Hidden platforms throughout the asteroid belt opened fire simultaneously with coordinated precision. Mars launched wave after wave of fighters and bombers in perfect formation. Earth's orbital defense grid, disguised as simple communication satellites for over a century, came online with terrifying destructive power, but the most frightening sight was the emergence of the Terran fleet itself. Ship after ship, uncloaked from stealth mode, each one a masterpiece of human engineering and determination. They moved with perfect coordination, their battle tactics refined through decades of preparation and constant simulation training. Lieutenant Colonel Baek Sun-hai commanded the fighter squadron Earth's Fury, leading her pilots through the hegemony formation like dancers of death. Remember your training, she called over the communication system. Every enemy ship we destroy means another civilization gets to stay free. The space battle lasted exactly 6 hours. When the fighting ended, the pride of the hegemony's military lay scattered in burning wreckage, while Earth's defenders had suffered only minimal casualties. Advanced human shields and superior tactics had protected them from the worst of the enemy's desperate counterattacks. Admiral Torkil's final transmission was a broken whisper from his dying flagship. What are you people? How did you become so powerful? Admiral Jay's response would become legend throughout the galaxy, repeated by every freed species for generations to come. We are humanity. We are the ones who listened when you thought no one was watching. We are the sleeping giant you should never have awakened. As the last hegemony ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, Earth's communication systems came alive with messages from across the galaxy. Enslaved species who had monitored the battle began to hope for the first time in millennia. The hegemony's age of absolute control was ending. The age of galactic liberation had begun with Earth's thunderous awakening. The news of Earth's victory spread through the galaxy's secret communication networks like wildfire jumping between dry trees. On 1,000 enslaved worlds, in hidden refugee camps and secret meeting places, the oppressed dared to whisper the impossible word, hope. Corel, the Zephyrian elder rescued from Aqua Prime, stood before the newly formed Galactic Liberation Council in Earth's rebuilt United Nations building. Representatives from 43 different species sat in the Great Assembly Hall, many of them the first free members of their races in hundreds of generations. When my people sent our final message into the empty void, Corel began, his translated voice carrying across the silent chamber, we believed we were speaking our last words to a universe that didn't care. We never imagined that Earth had been listening, learning, and preparing for this moment. President Park Jung-mi of the Unified Earth Government nodded from the central speaking platform. Around her, the faces of humanity's leaders showed the weight of their species' greatest undertaking. They had spent 3 generations in complete secrecy, building not just weapons and warships, but the entire infrastructure needed to liberate a galaxy. The hegemony's control is collapsing sector by sector, reported Admiral Song Jae to the assembled representatives. Our liberation fleets have freed 17 worlds in just the past month, but this is not conquest for Earth's benefit. This is restoration. Each species will govern itself according to its own values and traditions. General Kim Tae-ho activated the massive holographic display showing the galaxy-wide military operation. Blue dots marked liberated star systems, while shrinking red zones showed remaining hegemony strongholds. The tide of war had turned completely in freedom's favor. Operation Silent Dawn has achieved all its primary objectives, he announced to the crowd. The hegemony's core worlds are under siege, their fleets scattered or destroyed across dozens of battlefields. But our mission was never to rule over others. Our goal is to ensure that no species ever has to send another desperate cry for help into the darkness. In the distant Kepler sector, Commander Park Soo-jin's task force approached the hegemony fortress world of Tyrannos Prime. Her fleet had grown from a single rescue ship to over 200 vessels, many of them crewed by liberated species who were eager to join the fight for galactic freedom. All ships. This is retribution, Soo-jin broadcast to her mixed fleet of human and alien vessels. Remember our core principles? We're liberators, not conquerors. Target only military installations. Civilian populations must be protected at all costs, regardless of which species they belong to. The battle for Tyrannos Prime lasted 3 long days and nights. When the fighting finally ended, the last major hegemony stronghold had fallen to the combined liberation forces, and with it, thousands of years of systematic oppression across the galaxy. 6 months after the fall of Tyrannos Prime, Corel stood once again before the Galactic Liberation Council. This time he spoke not as a rescued refugee, but as the democratically elected representative of the restored Zephyrian Republic. His words would be remembered as the moment the galaxy truly understood what humanity had accomplished. We screamed. Into the cold darkness for help, he said, his voice now strong with hope renewed. And Earth, patient and watching Earth, had been listening to every word. You waited not because you were afraid of the hegemony, but because you were methodically preparing. You studied our oppressors for generations, cataloged all their weaknesses, and when you finally emerged from the shadows, you brought not just superior weapons, but liberation itself. President Park Jung-mi rose from her seat to respond, her words carrying the full weight of humanity's greatest achievement. Every species represented in this council chose freedom over easy submission, hope over comfortable despair. We merely gave you the opportunity to make that choice for yourselves. The galaxy belongs to all of us now, not to any single ruling power. Throughout the liberated sectors, reconstruction efforts moved forward with remarkable speed. Former slave worlds became thriving colonies again. Species that had been scattered as refugees began returning to their ancestral homes. Trade routes that had been controlled by the hegemony opened to all civilizations equally. Dr. Choi Anna, now director of the Galactic Technology Exchange, worked with alien scientists to share knowledge freely between species. The hegemony kept everyone weak by limiting what they could learn, she explained to her diverse research team. We're going to do the opposite. Every discovery, every advancement will be shared with everyone who wants it. As the formal council session ended, representatives from dozens of different worlds walked together toward the future. It was a future where the desperate screams for help had finally been answered, where the long shadows of tyranny had given way to the bright dawn of freedom, and where humanity had proven that sometimes the most powerful response to evil is patience, careful preparation, and the unshakable belief that freedom is worth any sacrifice. The age of the hegemony was over forever. The age of galactic cooperation and freedom had begun with Earth's patient emergence from the shadows, and in listening posts throughout human space, new voices continued to monitor the vast cosmos. Now they listened not for cries of distress and desperation, but for the joyful songs of civilizations finally free to reach for the stars and explore the infinite possibilities of the universe. The galaxy had awakened from its long nightmare, and the dawn was beautiful beyond imagination.